During the years 1600 to 1850, the Habsburgs were instrumental in the development of Vienna's golden age of music. We'll be seeing their impact and their support of one of Vienna's most famous musicians, the Counter-Reformation and the beginning of the Baroque era of music, and the Napoleonic Wars and the beginning of the Romantic era of music. Right now, I'm standing in front of the Hofburg in Vienna, Austria, and it's beautiful by both day and night. It's also a great spot to pick up a horse and carriage ride if that's something you're interested in. We started by taking a flight from Istanbul, Turkey to Vienna, Austria. Once we arrived, we dropped off our luggage and headed to see Vienna's main downtown area. Now let me give you a brief introduction to this beautiful city. Vienna is, of course, part of Austria, which is in the EU, so its currency is the euro. Did you know that Vienna is home to over 2 million inhabitants? Its historic core is mainly in and around the Ringstrasse, though it's cheaper to stay just outside the ring. In case you didn't know, the Ringstrasse is a broad boulevard that surrounds Vienna's historic quarter. But you might be asking yourself, who are the Habsburgs? The answer is they were German dukes, archdukes, and Holy Roman emperors. Frederick IV was the first Habsburg to be crowned Holy Roman Emperor in 1452, a position the Habsburgs would hold until 1806. Furthermore, the height of the Habsburgs' power was under Charles V in the 16th century. During that time, the Habsburgs controlled the Netherlands, Luxembourg, Burgundy, Austria, Hungary, Bohemia, and the Spanish Empire. But the aspect of the Habsburgs' legacy that I'm going to focus on is their role in music. Basically, the Habsburgs were to music what the Italian Medicis were to art. The Habsburgs had a deep enjoyment of the arts and, like the Medicis, were patrons of some of Vienna's most famous musicians, including Mozart. With that bit of background, let's begin our exploration of Vienna's golden age of music, starting with Mozart. Let's discuss his importance to Vienna's golden age of music and his connection with the Habsburgs, starting at Schönbrunn Palace. But since the palace is outside the Ringstrasse, you're going to want to take the metro there. The metro is a really convenient way to get around Vienna. Trains come around every 7 to 8 minutes. To get to Schönbrunn, you want to take the U4 line down to the Schönbrunn stop. Now that we're here at Schönbrunn, let's discuss why Mozart is important to Vienna's golden age of music and his connection to the Habsburgs. Mozart was a famous musician who spent much of his life in Vienna. He was born in 1756 in Salzburg, a city under Habsburg control. He was truly a prodigy, able to play the piano at age 3, and playing for the first time at Schönbrunn at age 6. Did you know that Mozart was able to compose at age 5? This is a recording of his first composition. If you're looking for another musical way to spend an evening, there are concerts here at Schönbrunn with music by Mozart and other famous musicians. For tickets, see the link in the description. But, getting back to Mozart, at age 15 he moved to the capital of the Holy Roman Empire and seat of the Habsburgs' power, Vienna. There, he continued to play at the Habsburg summer and winter palaces. In fact, Mozart was appointed Capel Musicus at the Imperial Court Chapel in the Hofburg by Emperor Joseph II. As Capel Musicus, Mozart was supposed to provide grand, polyphonic music for religious services. Stay tuned for more on polyphony and the Counter-Reformation. However, if you're looking for a cool cultural and musical experience, the Vienna Boys Choir, which actually traces its roots back to the Imperial Court Chapel, holds Sunday Masses there. Next, let's head back to the Ringstrasse to a building called the Burgtheater, which was opened in 1741. As for Mozart, as you probably already realized by now, the Habsburgs greatly enjoyed Mozart's music. However, once, when Mozart was performing in the Burgtheater for Emperor Joseph II Habsburg, Joseph II exclaimed, "Too many notes, dear Mozart, too many notes," to which Mozart replied, "Just as many as necessary, Your Majesty." This is a recording of an excerpt of that piece. This comment is a reflection of Mozart's fast and inconsistent music, which is consequently hard to play. Still, Emperor Joseph II commissioned him often for works that promoted German language opera instead of Italian, which was also one of Mozart's passions. So, clearly the Habsburgs' love and patronage of music created an environment in Vienna in which Mozart could flourish. As one writer puts it, the Habsburgs offered him platform, prestige, and patronage for his genius.
Ooh, hello, Mozart. You're everywhere. Packed at the end of a small street just off Stephen's Platz is Jesuitenkirche, a Baroque church built during the Counter-Reformation. The Jesuits were an important group during the Counter-Reformation, and this church was actually built by a Jesuit. And did you know the Jesuits still worship there today?
During the Reformation, the Protestants were trying to change or reform the Catholic Church. But, of course, the Catholic Church wanted to regain favor, so they basically doubled down in their use of money and cathedrals, making everything more elaborate and ornate than ever before, starting a new style called Baroque. The Counter-Reformation lasted from around 1547 to 1700. As staunch Catholics and a land infiltrated by the Reformation, the Habsburgs were large players in the Counter-Reformation, trying to keep their German land from the ever-invading Protestants. So, through the Habsburgs' furious attempts of upholding Catholicism in Vienna, the imperial seat became a center for Catholic revival, and music was a core aspect of that. A major event in the Counter-Reformation was the Council of Trent, which redecided some of the characteristics of the Catholic Church. The council lasted 18 years. At the end of the Council of Trent, Pius IV published a summary of the council. First, it reformed some of the doctrine of the Catholic Church, publishing a revised version of the Bible and other religious works. Also, a group called the Jesuits were used to address the Protestants' disputes with the Catholic Church. The Jesuits started with Ignatius of Loyola, who, like Martin Luther, suffered religious torment and later became a charismatic leader. He was a strong Catholic, and he and his followers were named the Society of Jesus, or the Jesuits. They founded a humanistic school with music as one of the primary subjects. The Jesuits also fought to spread Catholicism. In other words, they were Catholic missionaries. What happened to the Jesuits? They were suppressed in 1773 and re-established in 1814, and have remained ever since. Now, there are about 14,000 Jesuits.
The cafe culture here is amazing, and one of the best places to get a drink is Cafe de Lera. They're also known for their delicious ice cream sundaes. Cheers!
This use of music for propaganda resulted in a new style, Baroque, which is seen in many of the arts, not just music. Baroque music employed two new devices in music. First, the melody used in Baroque music included short and long motifs. Short motifs are brief, repeating melodic phrases and trills. Note the repetition in the beginning of Domine quando veneris. Long motifs, as the name suggests, are longer than the short motifs and use a style called counterpoint, which is similar to a row or round. Note the longer motifs in this portion of Ad Dominum Contribuere by Nicholas Gambert. Furthermore, there is also contrast in Baroque-style music. They use it in three main ways. First, in dynamics or change in volume, quickly going from loud to quiet. They also use contrast between solo and ensemble music, which is demonstrated in this portion of Giovanni Gabrieli's in Ecclesiastes. Third, it's used in contrast between different instruments. The main instruments that were included in Baroque music were the viola, cello, double bass, organ, harpsichord, flute, oboe, trumpet, timpani, and violin. However, no Baroque song used all these instruments at once. The organ, though, is highlighted in Bach's Toccata and Fugue, written during this era. The last topic we're going to cover today is the Napoleonic Wars. Soon after Francis II Habsburg became emperor, France, headed by Napoleon, gave Vienna an ultimatum in 1792, demanding that Austria end its alliance with Prussia. When Prussia left the alliance 3 years later, Napoleon attacked the weakened Vienna and won. When he conquered Vienna in 1805, he lived in Schönbrunn and married Anna Marie, a Habsburg archduchess. In fact, because of Austria's loss to Napoleon, the Holy Roman Empire's 1,000-year history came to a close in 1806. Eventually, Austria and its allies defeated Napoleon and exiled him to Elba. Negotiations then started between the two sides, France and the allies at the Congress of Vienna. The treaty was signed on June 9, 1815, and Napoleon was exiled to St. Helena, where he died on May 5, 1821. Now, did you know that the Napoleonic Wars affected Beethoven in his Eroica, or Third Symphony? Beethoven used to be a great admirer of Napoleon, but when Beethoven heard that Napoleon had made himself Emperor of France, Napoleon became Beethoven's enemy because Beethoven was a strong Republican. He actually was in the middle of writing the Eroica for Napoleon. The name of the symphony was originally Bonaparte, but when he heard the news, he erased his name and wrote Eroica instead. You can tell as he was writing this he was angry because most of the song is tense, loud, and thunderous. Here's an excerpt from that song. This song started the Romantic era of music.
And speaking of Napoleon and Anna Marie's marriage, I'm standing just outside of Augustiner Kirche, which is where Napoleon and Anna Marie got married. Let's go check it out.
Lasst uns angenehmere anstimmen.
So thus ends our exploration of Vienna's golden age of music. But if you are still interested in Vienna's music culture, then there are so many more sites you can see and concerts you can attend. Also in Vienna, you can see all kinds of fun art museums, palaces, shops, and cafes. This is Charlotte signing off from Vienna. Happy travels as you see the world.